I'm Lame Malome, a co-host.
This is Lame. Thank you, Lame, for coming again.
I know, I seem to be here all the time.
Yeah, you stay here now.
I do.
Yeah.
Residents.
This is our resident guests. From now on, we're just going to be doing these podcasts and videos together so that we can learn from each other and actually bounce ideas, and you guys can actually learn a few things.
Get a different perspective.
Different perspective is actually very good. Yeah. So today we are discussing. What are we discussing today?
It's a hot one.
It's very
money
hot.
and marriage.
Money and marriage, guys. You know, we've been just like, hey, sure, we're doing this one, girl. We're doing it, and it's so important to discuss this because, you know, we've been married ourselves. How long have you been married for?
6 years now. Oh,
me,
I
me
know.
Too. Oh my
I
gosh,
know.
we got married the same year?
We did. Those lavish weddings, remember?
Yeah. And, you know, we've actually been discussing how we had lavish weddings, and we've been reflecting whether should we have had that or not. You know, we're going to be discussing that today. And what are the lessons from this? And then what are our lessons, and what can you do better? If you're going to get married or you're already married, what can you do better regarding managing money in your marriage and the best approach to do it?
Yeah, I think just our perspective on what we would have done differently, what we would have liked to do better,
Yeah.
and what's working for us at the moment.
Yeah.
So I think that's
what we're talking about
what
today.
we're talking about.
Look forward to that. Yeah. So money and marriage. What do you think? What has been your experience so far? I mean, what would you change, or what would you say this is the best thing to do if you had, let's say, to get married? You want to get married. What would you advise someone?
I think, look, everyone's journey to marriage is very different,
Yeah.
right? Like we all, you know, to get to marriage, we all, and I think it's important to note that most people get married at different financial points in their life, and that's a very key thing when you're talking marriage and money.
Yeah.
There's some people who get married before they work,
Yeah.
where they're both out of school,
Yeah.
and they want to get married, and they start building themselves that money blueprint, as we were talking about, and, you know, get through that. But I think the most important thing that we need to draw back to is the conversations we've been having about, you know, what your blueprint is,
and
what your partner or your future husband's blueprint is. That is very important. You know, it all stems down to how we always talk about love languages.
Yeah.
And we always tend to leave this little topic called money out
Yeah.
of the marriage.
Of the love language.
Of the love language.
Money love language.
Money love language.
That's actually a very good point. Yeah. What is your money
love language?
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, in marriage, you know, you guys are building a home. And money is key to even the beginning of the journey of marriage.
Yeah.
All of a sudden there's a price tag on it. Because there comes this huge thing that we just spoke about, the wedding.
Yeah.
And that is gonna, you know, that's gonna determine how this marriage or the monetary journey of this marriage
and
is
how
gonna
you
be.
guys discuss that and agree.
Yes, and how you know this, and you agree, and that's maybe where you learn each other's blueprint.
Yeah.
While you're planning the ceremony, you'll know this person, what's this person like, and what's this person when it comes to money, because you might have a husband who's like, no, you're not buying that, but because they want to please this person, they're almost diverting from that money blueprint
who they
to please their spouse, their future spouse. Or you might have you know, in the reverse, a wife who has a very conservative blueprint, but is marrying somebody who wants to maybe prove. And I think, like, you know, with marriage, there's a lot of pressure from the family. So, you know, you always need to almost navigate yourself through that. Is how you are going to, you know, how you're going to work through your money. Yeah. Especially for that big event.
No, absolutely. I mean, this is actually a very important part that you're mentioning, pressure from family. Yeah. Oh, I remember when I was getting married, the pressure that was there, you know, and you know, it's real, and it's real. The pressure is real, and as well as the conflicts are real. And how can you maneuver through that? And how do you maneuver through that? By having unity with your partner. The unity in terms of knowing your stand. You know,
knowing yourself is the most important thing.
Knowing your stand and together.
Yes.
I get it. Once you
understand yourself and you guys come together. Now you need to understand and have a stance, like you're saying, together, and understand that. Yeah.
And actually just say, oh no, this is what we're doing. So then how can now, let's say now somebody's getting married, or they're planning to get married. What do you think the best steps are to take?
I mean, the most obvious one I always say to people is that whether you go to church or you don't go to church, premarital counseling.
Premarital counseling.
That is key. I mean, we went to two.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give an example about ourselves. I mean, he's Catholic and I'm UCCSA. So we did, because, you know, when you get married, it's the girl's family's church where you get married. So we went for premarital counseling with Murutuko UCCSA. But then, you know, the Catholic Church have this amazing program called Engaged Encounters.
Yeah.
It wasn't in Botswana yet at the time.
Yeah.
So we actually went to Joburg for it. And
I see it. The one in Joburg. The one that you stay there for 2 weeks?
Yeah, we stayed there. It's not 2, it's 2 nights. It's over a weekend. Yeah.
Yes, no, I see
It's over a weekend.
Because there's another name for it. What's the name?
It's Engaged Encounters.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a Catholic
I know it. I'm Catholic.
Oh, so you went for Engaged Encounters. It wasn't in Bots when we got married at the time. So we,
Joburg,
you know, Catholics, you guys like your...
Yeah,
so we went for the Catholic one. And look, it was so eye-opening, because with that, it's a couple who've been married for 40 years, one that's been married for 5 years, and one that's been married for a year, that tell you their journey. So you're getting it raw, you know, real. 40-year-olds, they've got kids that have got kids, you know, they've got grandkids. How's it going with them? These have been in it for 5 years, the journey. And these ones are just fresh out of it. They're literally where we're going to be in 12 months. So it was good to almost relate to certain couples and see the troubles that you were going to have on your journey. And the most important topic that I got out of that counseling was marriage and money. And the exercise, the most important one, because the exercise that you do is that both of you write each of the exercise, you're all writing in a book that will become a betrothal to your loved one at the end of it. So you exchange those books. Then you get to really see that this person is totally different from me. And this is what we spoke about the blueprint. It goes back to like,
what is your blueprint?
His money blueprint is not yours. And there you are writing priorities, because they ask you about priorities. You know, there's a whole page about money and where you would put, you know, school fees and where you would put a house mortgage, a car, how many cars do you want to have, how many children do you want to have. You know, it's asking you questions that when you're in love and you're enlisted by love, you're not talking about those things. And it's very interesting to go back to the both books and look at what I wrote and he wrote. Not the same.
Do you guys still go back to them now?
I was actually cleaning out the cupboards during lockdown, and I saw it and I was like, oh.
So how did that counseling then help you?
No, it helped because
with the money part.
No, you've got to see that we are not the same person. Our money priorities are not the same. And now moving forward, how do we gel these two together in order to build a home? You know what I mean? So that's
what they taught you.
That's why you swap the books at the end of each session to say, geez, this is completely out. And then, you know, the conversation that they're starting there is more, how then do we align these two blueprints to become the blueprint that we want for our home?
Absolutely.
For our future home.
How is it working? Yes. Is it working well for you guys since then? Did
you but then bear in mind, you're dealing with a man and a woman. Right? The traditional way is that you adopt your husband's way. You've got to, as a woman, you have to be submissive to your husband and adopt the way he's going to rule his own. Remember, he's the king.
I think that's not necessarily even Setswana. Both.
Yes.
It's both.
Even in Nigeria, I'm sure where you're married.
Girl, that is the standard.
A standard practice.
And the thing is, even in the English world, that is it.
You adopt, the way he says money's going to work in his home, because 9 times out of 10, he's going to be the provider, is the way money's going to work. So, there has to be an element where now your relationship gets tested to say, okay, how then do we navigate our way through
so whether they know how to use it well or not. That's the question. That's the thing. And you have to be submissive.
Well, that doesn't matter at some point because you need to recognize that you're a woman, and there has to be a point where now you listen to your husband for this is how we're going to spend money in our home.
But then there's the neck.
But
the neck who helps with directions.
directions. But then there's now where you want to bring the 2020 element into it, where you want to help, and that's where now your relationship gets tested, where you have the conversation and try and navigate that blueprint.
So basically, kind of that's where now, we are taught that, the man is the head and then you're the neck. Basically, then you show the direction. So the navigating of now you turning that neck and that head, you are that neck and you're trying to turn that head. That's where now you need to actually learn how you're going to navigate that, you see. And it actually gets really hard when you're actually inside. So when you're starting to get married and you want to get married, the best thing that we would definitely advise is premarital counseling. And premarital counseling include money and marriage in it.
And I think
because most of them, they don't really go deep into the money.
But I think another thing is that before marriage, when you're in a relationship, both man and woman, or learn each, because in there you're not you're not conscious of it, because maybe you're not married yet, but you're able to see someone's relationship with money at the beginning.
You can see it.
Whether this guy you're like, let's go out for dinner, and they're like, nope, I want to marry. Or they're like, okay, sure, what do you want? And they're buying you gifts. You are able, by the time this gentleman asks you, will you marry me? You know his relationship with money. And it's the same with the guy. By the time you ask this lady to be your wife, you know what your relationship and money, or
what their
relationship with money is. It's just that you're not conscious and you're not really aligning it to your blueprint.
Who you are. Yeah. And it's super important actually, because like I wanted to say, observe how your partner spends the money before you actually marry.
Because that's how they're going to spend money in that marriage.
That's exactly how they're going to do it. Yeah. And it's very important to make that decision and actually observe and have the conversation. While you're still dating.
Yes, have the conversation of how, if we...
don't you think maybe this is the best way? And see how they react. Going to navigate it. And then, you are allowed to, even before you guys even think about getting married, you are allowed to go for counseling. And you can actually go for, what do you call it? A therapy. You know what I mean? Before you even get married.
Premarital,
not
just
even
therapy.
Just therapy.
Therapy.
Just to figure these things out. Tell about how are we going to do this. Then you can actually now be able to see, are we really going to work out if we were to get married? Yes. You know what I mean? So I would advise therapy, and as well as go for the lessons for money together, and actually learn how to work through marriage as a couple before you even
before the wedding, before
he even proposes, especially.
But then but for me,
I feel like it's healthy. Why not?
No, it's healthy. But then you work through, and I'm being the devil's advocate here. You work through all these things, and then he never asks you to marry him. Because he feels so there has to be an element of it, where maybe you're doing these things when maybe you guys have had the conversation.
I think you need to be at that level.
Because a lot of men feel that women are the ones that pressure them into marrying them. And I think that, we need to be real to that point to say what we're advising is maybe start, having these therapies, doing these premarital counseling when you guys are sure
that you're gonna get married.
Let's not try and drive people down the road of looking at all these different elements and attending all these, only for him to turn around and say, look, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, I mean,
it's important, and it's
very, very important. And you know what, with that, because it's when you actually say that, because it can be when you guys are now, you are planning to get married, and you know exactly where you are in your life.
Yes,
you know what I mean. You're very set. In 2 years we might do this. You've agreed in 2 years, and then you suggest. Even the husband can suggest. The guy can suggest. Let's go for therapy and see how we can work this thing out. And the good part about therapy is it's not because I don't want us to put any fear on the girl that the guy might not propose. You get what I mean? How we expose it
but you know what my rhetoric is? And for me, is the rhetoric of what's happening in our society now is that the men have this, this notion that the women are the ones that want
to get married.
Yeah. They're not... they can do it or they don't do it, and it doesn't change the price of that bread. Now, I was having a conversation with my friend, and he was like, I'm not ready to get married, and if this girl was even we've had this discussion, and I think we agree. And if he was to say to me, or try and, you know, steer the conversation in that way. I'm just going to be like, no. And what I said back to him, I was like, you know, the sad reality about being a girl is that I said to him, well, men are from Mars and women are from Venus, because when we try and have a conversation with you to try and check where we are,
we're now more Venus.
You are like, you guys are going to take it out of, you know, they take it out of proportion. So I'm not ready. You know, they then just don't, you know, almost just give you an ear to say, oh, okay. Or even ask you questions.
Of the conversation.
Or even ask you questions like, oh, okay, why is it that you're asking about this marriage thing so often? You know, can we try and decipher, you know, like, no. But 9 times out of 10, when a woman is saying to you, where are we going? It's because they want to check. Because, I mean, look, we live in Botswana. Now, you'll be here thinking that you guys are, you know, 7 years thinking that you guys are together. Next week, you hear that he's getting married when you were at home.
This happens.
You know, it happens. And we see it in the papers all the time. So it's not that they're asking you because they want to put you under pressure. They want to know if that's where things are going. So because you can just wake up and go marry someone that you met 2 weeks ago.
And let's try and, you know, and it's very important you're mentioning this honesty.
Yes.
This is the honesty part that we really need in relationships, and make sure that you have this. Don't get married. It goes back to when you're going back to the girl child as well.
Yes.
You know, be secure with yourself. You know, don't depend on a man for everything. Be secure with yourself so that you know if this guy decides to not get married, it's okay, you know, and you need to be at a certain point of course at your marriage talking about counseling, and then he decides that he doesn't want to get married. That's okay.
You have to be comfortable with that.
And that
you need to be mature enough to be comfortable with that.
And why on earth would you want to force somebody to get, why on earth would you want to get married to somebody that doesn't want to get married anyway? Especially after counseling.
Thank you.
You get what I mean? So it's very, very important, because sometimes counseling, it does trigger.
No,
and
it opens up
a lot of
conversations that you've not had. And, you know, driving back to money, you know, there's always this rhetoric. I always go back to what society's saying in the rhetoric. Is that, you know, a lot of girls go into marriage, but like, you know, and this goes back to the girl child. Build yourself. Go into marriage having gotten your degree. You know, we take it having lived on your own, knowing what it takes to make you happy. And then when
make yourself
and
happy.
if at all you marry a man who's affluent, you already know, okay, these are my stopgaps. This is what I want as
he comes and compliments.
He comes and compliments what you've got, not where you're now only looking for a relationship where someone's already made it. Bear in mind, he was making it with somebody. And do you want to be a partner, or do you just want to be a receiver of?
And this goes both ways, by the way. I mean, you know, there was a time we had this training, and I remember this guy very well. He said he was very strict, and he actually just said, now for me to marry my wife, I had to observe exactly the way that she's spending money. You know, guys, you know, be very strict about this.
And be intentional about your marriage.
Be intentional about everything. Do not overlook anything, because it's going to catch up and you're stuck with this person for the rest of your life. Well, most of it's not easy to get out, you know.
It's not as easy as
So this guy was like, it's very, very strict, because I wanted to see the way that she manages her money, because I'm not about to go teach someone how to manage money. You know what I mean? Because I'm not a teacher. I want us to be able to know what these are.
Complement each other. Marriage is about complementing each other.
This is
building.
And building. So, like you were saying earlier, you know, we're not about to be start from scratch and build somebody from scratch. That's not your responsibility. That's the parents' responsibility. So if that part is not done, and it's not your responsibility to be raising somebody else's child. You see. So this guy was just saying, well, now I was very intentional about that, and I knew what I wanted from a woman, and I saw it in her.
Yes.
You know, and I saw it in her while we were dating. You know, and it's important while you are dating, observe that. Observe the way that they're using money. Observe the way that they handle themselves around money. What is their blueprint? And then if you're worried a little bit, then why don't you then try the counseling? Go for not marriage counseling, just go for counseling, couples counseling, and actually see if you can have the conversation about money together and improve it while you are dating.
Definitely.
You see, and if it doesn't work out, and you know, and if he decides to pull out, then
that's a good thing, because it's done before the marriage actually starts. And I'll be very honest with you,
it's done before the marriage
going
starts.
Back to the biggest price tag in your marriage journey is the wedding.
The wedding.
And I'll go back to do. I had a very big wedding.
Yeah.
We had an extravagant
I think
wedding.
you and I.
We had
Same year.
No, we even had Precious the planner. That celebrity was my planner at my wedding.
Okay, no, you went a little bit higher. I planned my wedding.
That's the sort of levels I'm talking about, right? So we started having spent a lot of money. Like at the beginning of our marriage journey, we'd already spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
By the time now we were coming to
marriage.
Now
the wedding is done.
The wedding is done. The money's been spent. And, most of it wasn't our, like it was, family. But now I always say, if I wish we could get married like now with
during
Corona.
COVID, yeah.
Because
Same here. I was saying today, same thing to my husband. I wish we could get married now.
It was 50 people, we would have made a saving.
What are you saying that...
What I'm saying is the biggest price tag is that, before you get married, there's this stumbling block here called mahadi, the wedding, that you now are spending money before you go into the marriage. And what we need to be very explicit about is that there's the wedding and then there's marriage. Very two separate things, but you're starting a journey having spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
And now in marriage, you now need to navigate. And the worst thing is spending a lot of money, then being a couple, getting back and then having a conversation with, well, we spent a lot of money. There's no money to do the things that now you want to do now that you're married. Which is not right. So I think always budget the wedding to make sure that in marriage you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a lavish wedding.
There's nothing wrong with it.
If you can afford it. And
yes.
if you can afford it, and when we say if you can afford it, we mean even after getting married.
Yes, you can still afford to have spent that money. That's why I'm talking about having budgeted it to the point that in marriage, you're now comfortable.
You're going to be okay.
And I think we need to talk about...
You don't have to struggle a bit.
Yeah, you don't have to struggle. And you need to talk about the change in dynamics of marriages now. You have a lot more women in corporate and a lot more men who are self-employed, right? So that dynamic has changed where the woman is now the one in the office most
bringing
of the time,
in the income.
And you have relationships where a lot of relationships where the woman makes a lot more money
than the
because
the husband is the entrepreneur most of the
time. And now you have it then goes back to Setswana where the man is the traditional provider. How does that affect your relationship in the marriage, you bringing in income and him, running your own business brings in a lot of income, but it's not every day or monthly income. It's not consistent income. So there's those dynamics that people need to be real to say, am I the working one? Is my husband the entrepreneur? And how are we going to make our marriage work? Looking at the dynamics that we have in our marriage. And then you've got the traditional marriages where the husband is the one making a lot of money and you've got the housewives. I've always said, I want to be a housewife. I tried it out during Corona. I could never do it. Because
we like saying that, but in reality,
I became a housewife during Corona, and I realized that I quite like going to work. I'm a working mom. And there's no shame in being a working wife and a working mom. There's nothing wrong
and no shame in being a housewife either.
No,
it's just not you.
It's not me, and I think it's for everyone. But I was like, oh God, and I do you know what the thing is? You always. As human beings, we envy what we see. You see certain people and you're like, I want that.
I want the life.
But bear in mind, the grass is not always green on the other side. And it's the same with people. Some people look at marriages and say, I want to be married. Marriage might not be for you. You might not be the person. And it's okay. And that's the thing. You need to be okay with yourself first.
And it's very important. The reason why I keep, I have this friend that we always talk about marriages and we're always like, maybe we should go for counseling for it. You know what I mean? Let's go. Do you think we should therapy it? She always says that to me. It's like, I say that to my husband, do you think we should therapy it? And why not? You see, therapy doesn't necessarily mean...
there's a problem.
It could be just maybe there's just something you're not
that you guys are not able to communicate through together.
And then you therapy it. So let's make therapy very normal. Let's normalize it because it's very important, especially now. I think because we're out of time. This is such a good conversation.
We'll do this topic again. I think it's an important one.
I think it should be a follow-up.
Part 1 and
part 2. And then the part 2 we're going to talk about now. You're married and
how now do you navigate that?
How do you navigate that? And you're not doing well with your partner in terms of finances.
And remember, a lot of marriages break up because of money. The biggest divorce rate is because of money.
So right now we just discussed how you should do it before you get married.
How we think you should do it.
How
it's
we
our
think.
opinion.
It's our opinion because we're already in it. We had the lavish weddings and we are regretting why we had the lavish weddings. We wish we got married.
Mine,
I had a good time.
I enjoyed it. I must say.
It was really nice.
But it was...
it was really bad, but you know, obviously, like we are saying that you should make that decision when you know that you are still sorted when you are
in
marriage, because there's a difference. But before the wedding, before everything else, premarital counseling. Do the premarital counseling on finances as well. You know,
that's an important one on finances.
Very, very, very important. Observe how your partner is spending money.
And observe how you spend money.
How you spending money.
That's an important thing.
That's another thing.
You first before you observe the other person.
I mean, let's say you're the good one with money.
Yeah.
And then observe how your other partner is also doing it. And if your partner is not doing well, we're not saying leave them. That's why I was suggesting the therapy. But try and see if they can improve. Because sometimes you will find out the person just needs a bit of...
Needs a conversation.
You know what I mean? A conversation
and
about it.
Don't be afraid to talk about
just
money.
Don't be afraid to talk about money. It shouldn't be a taboo thing. It's a money blueprint thing as well.
Yeah. Whether you're comfortable enough having a conversation about money.
And then if you have a serious issue, before you even get married and you can't talk about money and you can't even... spend money properly with your partner and you can't have those conversations. That's a huge red flag already. So we're not saying
watch out for the red flag.
Watch out for that's a red flag and do not ignore it. So what we can just advise for now, go for counseling with your partner. There's nothing wrong with couples therapy. There's nothing wrong with it. Go with it and see. And if the partner, like you were saying, what if now he says, I don't want to get married? Oh, good. That's you dodged that bullet. You just dodged a bullet. That's a very good thing because that means then the person is not interested in having good communication about money, right? So yeah,
it's been great.
It's been great.
This is a hot one.
This is a very hot one. I think we are gonna have now a follow up will be about now you're inside. Yeah.
How to deal with it when you're actually
how can you deal
marriage?
with it when you're inside? Yeah. So remember this: we are not psychologists. We are not.
We're just giving you life experience.
Life experience advice about how to navigate this thing, money. And the good part about Lama and I have been married for I don't know 6 years
or 12 years together.
Yeah, we've been actually the same thing. Yeah. So such a coincidence on how our lives are so similar, her and I. But like we're saying, we're just like sharing our life experiences. This is not necessarily we're not psychologists. It's a huge disclaimer, especially when it comes to this.
Yes, no, definitely.
Topic. We need to say those kind of disclaimers. So guys, thank you for watching.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's been great.
It's been really good.
Yes.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation. The next episode will be about now you're inside. What can you do?
Marriage and Money Part 2.
Money and Money Part 2. Yeah.
Bye guys. Thanks for having us.
Bye.